MGC grades thousands of cards a month across pretty much every genre of the hobby. Me? I make trading card content under the name Holo Harrison, reviewing, critiquing, obsessing about cards and card art, and I rank MGC's top 10 graded cards out of those thousands each month. This is my top 10 for May 2023. This card makes it into my top 10 because of how it relates to my current collecting goals. I just acquired a complete near mint vending machine series 1 blue set. I love how these cards come with a lustrous, glossy finish, and were dispensed in sheets that the collector needed to peel off to reveal their treasure. There's a distant, detached process at work. It's unfamiliar for me as a modern collector who gets to experience a passive sequence of actions to pull or rip a new card. I hop online, I order some packs, I rip them after they've been conveniently delivered to my door. The vending machine series cards, aptly named by collectors rather than being an official moniker, require more action on the part of the collector. Go to the machine, dispense the sheet, peel the cards. It's only slightly different, but the nostalgic, purist collector in me loves that physical subtlety, and the idea of the sheets being in a vending machine enlivens a romantic perception of Japan in the 90s that I still hold. Whether true or not, that it was a place and time for the origin of some of the coolest cultural franchises and brands. And more than anything, the 3 series that comprised the full vending machine series had some rad artwork. The Weeder was a great example, but the Snorlax and Poliwrath are still 2 of my favourite artworks in all of Pokemon card collecting. So, I'm guessing some folks might be scratching their heads wondering how a Parks and Recreation card landed in anyone's top 10 list. You'll need to be patient with me as I explain. There are a couple of reasons, personal and otherwise. On a personal note, I'm a huge Parks and Recreation fan, and I had no clue any of these cards existed. The cast was pretty much spot on, and a lot of them have gone on to do some seriously cool stuff in TV and film. Before Parks and Rec, I had no idea who Chris Pratt, Rashida Jones, Aziz Ansari, Nick Offerman, Aubrey Plaza were. And look what they're up to now. Take Nick Offerman. He was in what I reckon is one of the best TV episodes ever in The Last of Us. It was a beautiful observation of hope in an apocalyptically hopeless world. This card is a big deal to me because it brought back a lot of love I have for these characters, jogged some memories I hadn't revisited in a long time, and reminded me of some laugh out loud moments that made many of my days. By its very definition, memorabilia should take us back to things we love to remember. Now, from an objective point of view, the sheer variety of trading cards out there never fails to blow my mind. This card is just another example of how wide-ranging the hobby can be, throwing curveballs our way with new stuff to add to our collections. Kind of cool how what we collect says something about who we are, right? This season, amid a Tottenham crisis, Harry Kane has managed to net 28 Premier League goals at the time of recording this video. The statistics surprise me. Despite a fairly inconspicuous and unheralded campaign, Kane has successfully averted a statistical dip in his goal-scoring legacy. Kane is one of the game's consummate all-rounders. He scores, passes with elegance, creates space for others, and holds up play, defying his significant physical presence with delicate movements and clever first touches. He's the epitome of consistency and class. As a Spurs and Kane fan, I may sound biased, but this card truly represents what a gem Tottenham and England have had at their disposal for the past decade. I'm a total sucker for a good promo, especially when it involves a gleeful Pikachu getting a lift from a confused looking Charizard. The strong illustrative style has a tension with the Tron-esque background that's an unexpected choice given how the characters are drawn. And let's not forget about the story behind the card. It's not just about looks. This little beauty was launched to celebrate the opening of the official Pokémon Center online store right here in the UK in 2022. If you wanted to bag one of these bad boys, you just had to whack your details into a specific website, and if all went well, you'd get a unique code pinged straight into your inbox, ready for you to use on your next haul at the regional Pokémon Center online stores. These hot codes were sent out in batches over 12 weeks. There was a bit of a whoopsie on July 29 when some people got a generic code by accident. But the real ones started showing up in inboxes from early August, and to use one of these codes you had to drop at least £20 at the regional Pokémon Center online store, and for added excitement you had to use them before Big Ben chimed in the new year on July the 1st, 2023. I think this card perfectly represents the sense of occasion that the Pokémon Company understands so well. Cool card, relevant to an historical event, winning combo. Another promo on this month's list. Back in September 2019, the Pokémon Company International and the English Football Association decided to team up for 3 years. Their goal? To get more people playing the sport of futsal across England. For the 2019-20 season, lucky schools and clubs that joined the FA Pokémon Youth Futsal programme bagged themselves some sweet Pokémon bundles filled with all sorts of gear and accessories for their matches. Fast forward to the 2020-21 season, and the promo extended to include the Pokémon trading card game. This meant the release of 5 special futsal-themed Pokémon on-the-ball trading cards. 4 of these cards could be nabbed as freebies when you bought something at game stores across England or on their website, but the 5th card, a special Pikachu on the ball card, was only included in kit bundles sent out to a select group in the FA Pokémon Youth Futsal programme for that season. So those bundles were extra special and were the source of this card. I just adore how Pikachu, the iconic face of the franchise, keeps showing up in various collaborations, popping up in all sorts of unexpected environments, along with a variety of brands and franchises from futsal and Edvard Munch's paintings to moonlighting as Mario. This card is a vivid representation of Pokémon's ability to energize and boost participation through its role as a promotional tool. People have a deep love for Pokémon, and this cultural significance is clearly stamped on this card. And let's be honest, who can resist a Pikachu having a kickabout? Muhammad Ali occupies an important place in sporting, cultural and social history. I recently watched the Golden Collectibles series on Netflix and wasn't surprised in the least when Mike Tyson was enamoured by a signed Ali glove that softened negotiations to an auction deal between him and the famous auctioneers. There's a fascinating moment when you see someone who's achieved so much showing reverence to someone who, you realise, has achieved even more. That heroes have their own heroes, and it's these heroes of heroes who, in the context of history, emerge as icons, transcending their chosen field, becoming historical figures that changed the course of human history. Ali drew attention to boxing and humanitarian causes through his charismatic turn of phrase and balletic presence in the heavyweight ring. He transcended all of life's divisions and offered a glimpse into what it was to live for something bigger than oneself, to sacrifice oneself for the future of others. This beautiful card is like film. Simple vintage typography, unfussy organisation of features, vertical, burned edges that give this card a rawness that frames the sparkling lily-white event-worn patch that's written into the story of the photograph above it and reminding the collector that this was worn by Ali when Ali was the living greatest. On April the 6th, 2023, I saw Georgia Stanway in action at Wembley for the 2023 Women's Finalissima, an intercontinental women's football match between the winners of the European and South American Championships. England ended up beating Brazil on penalties, but the result wasn't the memorable part of the experience. It was the spirit and atmosphere of the event that will be the lasting memory I recall and share with anyone who asks what are some of the most memorable live sporting experiences I've had. It was celebratory, loud, euphoric, and completely beyond what I'd experienced at the men's England-Ukraine game a few weeks beforehand. Fans cheered the substitutes, shuffling up and down the line when warming up. Wonderful passages of play were applauded, near misses or mistakes were supported, and families squeezed in together as football widened its arms for a more diverse audience. For me, this card represents the developing equity between the men's and women's game, and the dissolving boundaries between footballers as heroes and how sport can be an exciting celebration. If, like me, you played and obsessed over football in the late 90s and early noughties, it was impossible not to be influenced by the cultural phenomenon of David Beckham. Not only did he embody the pop star sportsman image in the public eye, dictating fashions and fancies, I did choose the R9 boots over the Predators, mind you. He was also a sublime footballer who benefited from a special wand that the Hogwartiest of wizards would be proud of. Despite his talent, what I admire most about David Beckham when reflecting on his football career is his mental resilience and strength of character. The world is predominantly occupied by people who judge others based on the superficial. How they look, how they dress, how they speak, and how their success compares to their own. I don't know much about Beckham the businessman, but I do know that in the 98-99 season, following an absurd public response to his on-pitch petulance at the 98 World Cup, he scored 9 goals, made 18 assists, won the treble with United, and came second to Rivaldo in the Ballon d'Or. In the face of deep adversity, he became stronger. I wish I had that type of resilience, and I wish I had this card. Back in 2016, Pokémon Center stores in Japan launched 2 special boxes dedicated to the characters Mega Charizard X and Mega Charizard Y. These boxes weren't ordinary ones. I mean, they were brimming with treasures like booster packs, a deck box, and sleeves, which are fairly standard, but the real star of the show? A unique Poncho Pikachu card featuring Pikachu dressed up as either Mega Charizard X or Y. I mean, it was always gonna be a belter. Pikachu dolled up as one of the baddest versions of another fan fave Charizard. I mean, you bet your last Pokeball these cards turn into must-have collector's items in a heartbeat. And I'm a bit obsessed with Japanese promos. I recently bought a grade 10 Trade Please promo, which I love. I mean, there's something about how temporary promos are. In an exclusive moment, chance and circumstance automatically increase their scarcity and compound the already prevalent surging of FOMO that courses through a hobbyist's veins. I think these cards have really grown in notoriety and are on an exponential climb to true hobby royalty status if they haven't already got some kind of giant lizard crown. As I mentioned earlier in this video, I love the vending machine series, and I also mentioned I love this Poliwrath card from the series. But although this card features in that series, this version isn't from it, but the original that predates all the vending machine fun. In October 1997, Coro Comic introduced their first ever illustration competition. Fans were asked to get creative and sketch their favourite Pokémon. The winners were revealed in the magazine's December issue. The top 3 artists were celebrated with the best award, bagging 20 Pokémon cards displaying their art and a unique illustrated promo card. This is one of 3 designs that won, the other 2 being a Snorlax and Mr. Mime illustration. The illustration is so childlike and free, whimsically crayoned in a moment of play, better suited to a fridge than a card. There's a flatness to the Poliwrath and background that accentuates the childishness of the colouring in and, for me, sets the tone for the variety of art that the Pokémon Company has indulged its players and collectors with over the years. I'm such a fan of these random cards outside of sets. There's an innocence to those who participated in the competitions that predate the Pokémon behemoth and hype, and so I feel they represent a truer expression of interest in the hobby. To me, it's purer. This is my number 1 because it makes me feel good. And to be honest, what's more important than that in a hobby we love? Surely that resonance and joy is personal and should be the main signal of whether we like something or not. Well, I like this, and it's my number 1. Haters gonna hate.